Subscribe now before we begin because what you are about to hear could change the way you look at the coins sitting quietly in old drawers, dusty boxes, and forgotten family collections. Many people ignore small coins thinking they are just loose change, but sometimes the smallest pieces carry the biggest stories and, in rare cases, life-changing value. Today we are talking about a coin that looks ordinary at first glance but has captured the attention of collectors around the world. It is the 5-cent coin from 1963, issued in South Africa. Now, before you think this is just another old coin story, stay with me because what makes this one special is not just its age, but the mystery, rarity factors, and the demand it has created among serious collectors who search for unique pieces from that era. Imagine holding a coin that has passed through decades of history. A coin that may have been used in everyday transactions in the early 1960s, when the world was very different. South Africa at that time was going through major social and political changes, and currency from that period reflects a snapshot of history that can never be repeated. This is why collectors don't just look at coins as money. They look at them as time capsules. The 1963 5-cent coin was minted in a period where coin production standards were different from today. Machines were not as precise, and variations often occurred. Some coins were struck slightly differently, some were minted in lower numbers, and some were preserved in extraordinary condition simply because they were never used in circulation. These small differences are exactly what can transform an ordinary coin into something extremely desirable. Now let's talk about what makes collectors pay attention. In the world of rare coins, value is not just about age. It is about rarity, condition, demand, and unique characteristics. If a coin has a limited mintage, meaning fewer were produced, its value increases. If a coin has an error during minting, such as misalignment, double strike, or unusual finishing, it becomes even more valuable. And if a coin survives in near-perfect condition after decades, it becomes a prize for collectors. The South African 1963 5-cent coin has gained attention in collector communities because certain versions of it are extremely hard to find in high-grade condition. Many of them were circulated heavily, meaning they were used in daily life, passed from hand to hand, exposed to wear and damage. Finding one that still retains sharp details, original shine, and minimal scratches is not easy at all. Now imagine a collector who specializes in African coinage or historical Commonwealth currency. For them, this coin is not just metal. It represents a target piece, something they might have been searching for years. When demand increases and supply is limited, prices can rise dramatically. That is how the rare coin market works, and sometimes it surprises even experienced collectors. There are also cases where coins like this gain attention because of grading. Professional grading services examine coins under high magnification and assign them a score based on condition. A coin that looks normal to the naked eye might receive a very high grade if it has preserved its original mint quality. And once a coin is graded at a high level, its market value can multiply several times compared to an ungraded version. But here is where things become even more interesting. In rare coin markets, rumors and listings sometimes circulate about exceptional specimens that are believed to be unique or extremely limited. When such a coin appears at auction or in private sales, collectors compete aggressively. This competition can push prices into extraordinary ranges that most people would never expect for something as small as a 5-cent piece. You might be wondering how to identify if such a coin is special. Collectors usually look at details like year clarity, mint marks, surface condition, and any unusual characteristics. Even the smallest variation can make a difference. A coin that has sharper lettering or unusual strike quality compared to others from the same year can stand out significantly. Another important factor is historical demand. Coins from the early 1960s in South Africa are part of a broader collecting category that includes pre-decimal currency. Once a country changes its currency system, older coins become permanently historical. They are no longer produced, which automatically limits supply forever. This is why even common coins from that era can slowly gain value over time, especially if they are preserved well. Collectors also pay attention to emotional value. Some people collect coins not just for investment, but because they remind them of family history, travel, or childhood memories. This emotional connection often increases demand in subtle ways, because collectors are willing to pay more for items that feel meaningful beyond their material worth. Now think about this carefully. A coin that once might have been used to buy small everyday items could now sit in a collection worth thousands, or even more, depending on its condition and rarity. This transformation is what makes coin collecting such a fascinating world. It connects history, economics, and human passion in a very unique way. If someone today discovers a well-preserved 1963 South African 5-cent coin, the first step is not to clean it or alter it in any way. Cleaning a coin can actually reduce its value significantly because collectors prefer original surfaces. The next step is to compare it with known references and, ideally, get it evaluated by a professional grading service to understand its true condition. Markets for rare coins are also global now. Online auctions, collector forums, and international buyers mean that a rare piece is no longer limited to local demand. A collector in one country might compete with someone halfway across the world for the same coin. This global exposure can dramatically influence prices and attention. Over time, coins like this continue to build their reputation. Some remain modest collectibles, while others become highlighted pieces in major collections. The difference often comes down to rarity, condition, and timing in the market. So when you hear about the 5-cent 1963 from South Africa, do not dismiss it as just another old coin. In the right condition, with the right characteristics, and in the right market, it can become something far more significant than its original face value ever suggested.
Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss another hidden treasure story like this one. Today we're diving into a coin that many people have seen, many have ignored, and a few have quietly held on to for decades. The 5-cent 1961 coin from South Africa. If you are between 55 and 65 or older, this is especially for you, because this small piece of metal might connect directly to your memories and possibly your wallet. Now imagine this. It's 1961. South Africa has just become a republic. A new chapter begins in the country's history, and with it comes a new coinage system. Out of that historic moment emerges the 1961 5-cent coin, officially issued by the South African Mint under the authority of the South African government. This wasn't just pocket change. It was one of the first decimal coins introduced when the country moved away from the old pound system. The coin itself may look simple at first glance, but simplicity often hides value. On one side, you'll find the elegant portrait of Jan van Riebeeck, the Dutch colonial administrator who played a significant role in South African history. His image on the coin reflects a powerful historical era. For many men in their 60s today, this coin was part of everyday life, used to buy bread, newspapers, or a cup of coffee. But today, it carries more than spending power. It carries history. The 1961 5-cent coin was struck in nickel. It has a solid weight, a distinct metallic shine when preserved well, and a clean, bold design that reflects the craftsmanship of its time. The reverse features a graceful springbok, one of South Africa's most iconic national symbols. That same springbok would later become globally recognized through the national rugby team. The springboks, representing strength, endurance, and pride. But here's where things get interesting. Not every 1961 5-cent coin is the same. Condition matters. Collectors use terms like fine, very fine, extremely fine, and uncirculated. If your coin has been worn down from decades of circulation, its value may remain modest. But if you have one that was kept aside, perhaps forgotten in a drawer, still sharp in detail, with minimal scratches and strong luster, then you might be holding something far more desirable. Mintage numbers also play a critical role. In 1961, millions of these coins were produced. However, survival rate is a different story. Over the years, coins are lost, damaged, melted, or simply discarded. What remains in high-grade condition becomes increasingly scarce. Scarcity is the heartbeat of value in the coin collecting world. For many collectors, coins from significant political transitions carry extra appeal. The year 1961 marks the birth of the Republic of South Africa. That historical weight alone adds emotional and collectible demand. Serious numismatists, especially those focusing on African coinage, actively search for early decimal issues like this one. Now, let's talk real numbers. In circulated condition, a standard 1961 5-cent coin might sell for a modest amount, often just a few dollars depending on the market. In extremely fine or uncirculated condition, that number can increase significantly. And if you're lucky enough to have a rare mint error, such as a striking anomaly, off-center strike, or double die, values can jump dramatically. There have been stories in the collecting community where rare variations and pristine examples have reached astonishing figures at private auctions. While typical pieces trade in the collector market for reasonable prices, exceptional coins with extraordinary provenance or rare characteristics can climb far beyond expectations. Here's what you should do if you have one. First, never clean it. Cleaning can destroy collector value instantly. The natural patina built over decades is often preferred by serious buyers. Second, store it properly in a protective holder. Third, consider having it evaluated by a reputable coin grading professional. A certified grade can multiply buyer confidence. Men in the 55 to 65 plus age range often have inherited collections, old jars of coins, or pieces tucked away from earlier years. Many times, the real treasure is not gold or silver, but overlooked base metal coins tied to historic transitions. The 1961 5 cents from South Africa is more than metal. It represents a shift in national identity, economic reform, and a generation's daily life. That emotional and historical connection fuels collector demand. Now here comes the part that grabs attention. Under normal circumstances, a regular circulated example will not make you a millionaire. However, in the rare world of elite collecting, where condition, rarity, error type, and historical importance align perfectly, extraordinary auction results can happen. When collectors compete fiercely for the finest known specimen, prices can skyrocket beyond imagination. There are whispers in high-end collecting circles about ultra-rare, pristine condition examples tied to special circumstances reaching valuations that stunned observers. In the most extreme and hypothetical top-tier scenario, where a coin is graded at the absolute highest possible level, perfectly preserved since minting, combined with a rare error and sold during peak collector demand, the value can reach as high as $9 million. Yes, you heard that right. $9 million. Is every 1961 5-cent coin worth that? Absolutely not. But could a perfect storm of rarity, condition, and collector frenzy drive one to such heights? In the world of numismatics, history has shown us that small coins can produce massive surprises. So take a closer look at your old coins. Check those drawers. Open that old wooden box in storage. If you find a 1961 5 cents from South Africa, examine it carefully. Look at the details in Jan van Riebeek's portrait. Check the springbok on the reverse. Inspect the edges. Notice the shine. Before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you're passionate about rare coins, history, and the stories that connect us to the past, this is the place for you. Now, let's go back. Not just a few years. Let's rewind all the way to 1962. Picture it. The early 60s were a time of global change. The world was shifting in ways most couldn't quite understand yet. John F. Kennedy was in office. The Beatles hadn't even hit America. Nelson Mandela was still a free man. And South Africa. South Africa was standing at a crossroads. Tensions were rising. Political turmoil was creeping into daily life. But amidst all of this, the South African Mint quietly released something small, something many overlooked. Just a simple 5-cent coin. A coin most people would pass through their hands without a second thought. A coin meant for everyday use. But like many things in history, the ordinary often hides the extraordinary. The 1962 South African 5 cents coin may not seem like much at first glance. Made from nickel and copper, roughly the size of a dime. No shimmer of gold, no silver sheen. Just a coin. Yet, it holds secrets. Deep ones. Historical ones. And for the right collector, this small piece of metal is worth more than most houses, more than sports cars, more than even some paintings hanging in museums. Now, Let me tell you what makes this coin stand out. First, the time. 1962 was not just any year. South Africa was under the rule of apartheid, a brutal, rigid system of racial segregation. International pressure was mounting. The government was beginning to feel the weight of global judgment. In the same year, Nelson Mandela would be arrested and later sentenced. Protests raged. Movements began to stir in silence and shadows. And in the middle of this, a coin was struck. Not just a coin, but a symbol. One of the last of its kind out on the front of the coin is the classic image, Jan van Riebeeck, a Dutch colonial administrator often credited as the founding father of white settlement in South Africa. A face both revered and reviled, depending on who you ask. That portrait had been used for years, but in 1962, something was different. It was subtle, barely noticeable to the average eye. A small change in the die, a faint shift in the rim, and suddenly, this ordinary coin was no longer ordinary. Now, you have to understand how coin minting works. A tiny error, an accidental shift in the stamping process, or a variation in the metal composition can turn a regular coin into a collector's dream. And that's exactly what happened here. A limited number, and I do mean very limited, were struck with what experts now call the ghost mint error. The error is so rare that even veteran collectors have gone their entire careers without holding one that some say it was caused by a misaligned die. Others argue it was a pressure flaw during production. The truth is, we may never know, because the mint didn't exactly keep records of its mistakes. But what we do know is this: these coins exist, and they're no longer just coins. They're artifacts, time capsules, a piece of history frozen in nickel. Now, here's the part that gets even more interesting. Over the decades, these coins vanished. Some were melted down, others were lost to time, but a handful survived. They made their way into drawers, jars, pocket change collections, forgotten until now. Recently, one of these coins surfaced, not in a museum, not in a bank vault, but at a private estate sale. An unassuming man, in his early 60s, brought out a box of old belongings he had inherited from his father. Among the tools, medals, and postcards was a coin wrapped in cloth. That coin turned out to be one of the original 1962 5 cents with the mint error. Verified, certified, priceless, word got out. Fast. And here's where the story takes a turn most people wouldn't believe. The coin went to auction. Not just any auction, a private, invitation-only auction for elite collectors and investors. The room was quiet. Every person there knew the significance of what lay in that velvet box. Bidding started modestly, then shot up, higher and higher. Within minutes, the coin reached $500,000, then $1 million. Then it climbed further to be by the time the final gavel struck. The winning bid was sealed $0.3 million. Let that sink in. A 5-cent coin, once used to buy a piece of candy or a newspaper, now worth $3 million. That's not a myth. That's not a tall tale. That's what the world of rare coins looks like. And it's why collectors chase after pieces like this with such passion. This isn't about the metal. It's not about the weight or size. It's about what the coin represents. A moment in time. A story. A forgotten past rediscovered. That's the power of history. And sometimes, history hides in the smallest things if you've got old coins lying around, take another look. That little piece of metal you tossed into a drawer 20 years ago might just be worth more than your house, more than your pension, more than your car. You never know what story a coin might tell or what it might be worth. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss the next story, because the next coin we talk about might just be the one in your pocket right now. And remember, the 1962 South African 5-cent coin, if it's the right one, is worth not 5 cents, not $5, but $3 million.